Hey ladies, welcome back to the show. I'm your host Trisha. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about what to do when you feel like you are working so hard on this journey into health, wellness, and self-care, and you aren't getting the results that you felt like you maybe had, or you're not getting it at a pace that you feel like is acceptable for all the work that you're doing. From my own journey, I've been working really hard over the last year, focusing on my health, mostly increasing my physical activity after I had a hip replacement last year. But I had been so proud of myself because I'd been doing that really hard work, slowly losing weight, prioritizing my mental health and dealing with these negative and critical thoughts that I have that I've been avoiding for a really long time. And I had been so proud of what I was slowly accomplishing, trudging forward on my own journey, which can sometimes be really hard to do when you're doing this daily grind that nobody really knows about. But when I went on family vacation this year, suddenly all of the things that I had been doing that I had been so proud of a week before somehow just didn't seem like it was enough, that I wasn't really where I wanted to be. It was taking too long. Somehow I was failing despite a week ago feeling really great. Has this ever happened to you? Or have you ever felt this way? My guess is yes. We've all felt this way at some time or another. You work hard, tirelessly, and consistently. You make all of the sacrifices and manage all of the obstacles that are coming up along the way like a champ. But then you find yourself in this place where everything's taking longer than you expected. The results aren't matching the perceived effort that you're making. And even though you've made progress, it doesn't feel like the amount of progress or the speed of progress is the way that you would want it to be. And then all of a sudden, you feel these feelings of frustration, or you feel bad about yourself. And today we're going to explore this idea of the challenges of waiting for progress to happen, what to do when you find yourself in a crossroads with what you're doing, and how to maintain your mindset and strength to continue on your journey when all of these things are getting in the way. First, we know that there is this emotional toll that happens to us when we feel like our expectations are unmet, when we are and experience the frustration of doing all of the work without seeing the desired results. And that can be really frustrating and lead to feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and even a sense of betrayal of our own bodies. And as women, especially if you've given birth or had changes in your body related to perimenopause or menopause, this is something that I think a lot of us feel. And that emotional burden can be then compounded by all of the things in society that are focusing on quick results, visible results, and then often perpetuated by social media, where you feel like, my gosh, I'm working way harder than them, doing way more than them, and their results are way better and way quicker than what I've been able to accomplish. And so when that happens, it's easy to feel like a failure, even when you are making a lot of effort to make that happen. And so today we're going to talk about this journey to success, because often it's filled with twists and turns and disappointments, and unexpected things are going to happen along the way. And so we're going to talk about really what you do about that, and why does progress take time? Well, again, we live in a place where the world is so fast-paced that there is this sense of instant gratification. And really, to have a true lasting change, that's going to require patience, persistence, and resilience. And that's really hard to maintain in a time where we want to get there, we want to get there fast. The process of any kind of growth, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, it can be really slow, discouraging, and frustrating. And that's especially true when it comes to health changes, whether you're trying to lose weight or build muscle, improve your diet, or manage a complex chronic health condition, that the results often take time to really show. And that's because our bodies are complex systems that require constant, sustained effort to be able to adapt for long-term change, which can be really frustrating and discouraging. So if you are somebody who has been working on improving how you eat, it can be really discouraging to not see results for a few weeks or even a few months. And maybe the smaller results that you're going to feel are going to be changes to your energy. But the bigger goals that you're really hoping for are weight loss or overall improvement in your health. But progress, even when it feels slow, it's going to be something that's going to give you change. So previously we had talked about what are the things that you can start to see now? What are the changes? So at the beginning, you may feel like you feel better, your anxiety is controlled, and then the longer term effect will be that you're having weight loss, or perhaps you'll see that your metabolism is better, or that you're getting stronger in terms of your muscle mass. And so it's important to remember that no matter how slow everything feels, and even though you're going to feel really easily discouraged, that the key here is that slow progress is still progress, and that every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the goal that you're trying to achieve. Another thing, or a common experience that people feel, is that there is all of this effort, but very little feelings in terms of outcome. Maybe you followed a strict diet. Maybe you're very on point with your exercise regimen, only to find yourself that your body hasn't really changed as much as you wanted it to, or adapted in a way that you had hoped. And so maybe you're starting to feel better, but the improvement has been overall minimal in terms of what your expectation was. And so it's important to recognize that not every effort will yield a perfect result. And it doesn't mean that your work was in vain or that you're doing it all for nothing. It's important to understand that every experience that you have, whether you see it as an experience that was valuable or invaluable, or something that you don't want to do again, that experience is teaching you something. It's teaching you a deeper understanding of who you are. It's teaching you perhaps a new skill set, or perhaps it's teaching you a bigger and clearer picture of what you're trying to accomplish here. And so when this happens to you, this is an opportunity for you to reflect and assess or reassess what is working and what isn't. And so this is when you're going to find yourself at a crossroads, that you are feeling discouraged, that you really don't have any options. Do you keep going on the same course that you're already on and just trying to figure out if you can be patient? Do you pivot and do something different? Or do you let go of what you're doing completely? I don't know about you, but for me, in the past, when I have felt discouraged, I have had these periods where I just kind of completely give up, and then I just need a little space for myself. So I'll give up for a little bit, and then after a few weeks, I come back and I'm like, okay, what worked? What's in it? But this time around, I was able to get into a place to really see it for what it was, so that I didn't have these weeks time where I wasn't doing anything except ruminating on what wasn't going right. And it was actually really helpful because it made me kind of figure out okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to do the same thing, or are you going to do something different? And what I decided for me was like, it's not really an option to give up right now. It's not really an option that I'm just going to like throw in the chips only to be in a place a month or 2 months or a year later to be like, oh, now I have to start this whole process again. And so if you feel like you're in a place that you're trying to evaluate your options, let's talk about this idea of staying the course. Because sometimes the best decision is to keep going with what you're doing. And we know that persistence and consistency can be really powerful, especially if you really believe in the long-term vision and you feel like you're on the right path. Staying the course requires you, though, to have faith in the process, that you are patient, and that you have this willingness to keep redefining your approach until you achieve the results that you desire. When this comes to a health change, it might be meaning that you are going to continue to eat the same way, you are going to continue to do the same physical activity, trusting that your body is adapting even if you can't see it yet. So that's the first option. The second option is to pivot. There are times when you're on this journey where you are doing all the things, but it's not leading you to where you want to be. And in these cases, making some kind of strategic shift in what you're doing could be the thing that is going to get you to where you need to be. In the context of health, this could be pivoting or switching up how you're eating, trying a different type of exercise, doing the exercise longer, harder, with more weights, seeking guidance or a community of people that can help you get to where you want to do. And it's not a failure. It's not a sign of failure when you pivot. It's just a way that you're going to be really smart with your time and that you can adapt to any of the responses that your body is trying to tell you. And then lastly, this idea of giving up altogether, that you need to let go of what is happening. And this is often the hardest choice to make, but it's really important to recognize when something is no longer serving you. When it comes to health goals, this might mean that you are really focusing on more on the outcome than you are on how you feel, and you may need to revisit that. It could mean setting aside a goal that isn't bringing you joy or fulfillment and just deciding that you're not going to do it anymore. Or it could be that you are going to give something up in terms of mindset. So perhaps you're in a place where you're always in this negative mindset, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm done with that. I don't need to carry that around with me anymore. It just gets in the way. And so I think one of the things that's important to understand here is that, first of all, trying to figure out what is contributing to your lack of perceived progress. What is going on with you? Is there something that is happening physiologically in your body, that there is this variability that is happening, such as your body isn't responding to the same diet and exercise that used to work in the past? Maybe you have some genetic factors that are getting in the way. Maybe you're having hormonal fluctuation changes or changes in your metabolic rate. And so all of these things are going to affect the how long in terms of your health intervention. Perhaps you have an unrealistic expectation that you're going to have this quick fix mentality, but you're not really focusing on like what's maintainable for the long term. And perhaps also your expectations are unrealistic, that you're trying to lose 30 pounds in like a week. And so kind of trying to figure out if that is playing into some of what is happening with you. Also trying to figure out, like, is your body in a period of plateau or adaptation? Is your body adapted to what you've been doing over and over again every day and you need a new routine? Or maybe you are in this place where your weight loss has plateaued or just kind of slowed down or stalled altogether. We know that this is all part of the normal process, but it can also be really demotivating. And if you don't anticipate for it, it can be really hard to continue on when you are trying to do it. One of the things that really helped me when I was going back and trying to figure out my own, like, what am I doing? What's working? What isn't working? Was to be really honest with myself and to write down like all of the things that I had accomplished this year that were good. And for me, yeah, I am in a place that I'm doing more physical activity. I am in a place where I continue to meal prep and I'm really good at that. And I feel like I eat pretty well and I'm eating the way that my body wants me to. But one of the things that I realized for me was that there were things in my life that were hindering my progress. And again, this is being honest with yourself. And I think sometimes we want to blame everybody else for things not going the way that we wanted it to and for our progress not being quicker. So one of the things that when I started writing down what was working for me, again, I'm exercising, I'm meal prepping, I'm eating the way that I want to eat. It feels like it's sustainable for the long term, all of that. But then I started to really figure out but what's not supporting me? What is kind of getting in the way? And what I realized was that I didn't have enough support for myself. So I'm doing things on my own, little support, feeling like a lot of times I'm not having a lot of support with my son. And so what would happen was I would feel really overwhelmed and then finding myself in a place where I was procrastinating, doing what I needed to do, zoning out. My anxiety feels like it's out of control. And then my screen time is increasing, doing things that really aren't providing me any joy. And so even though I was doing some really productive things, I was also doing things that were taking me away from what it is I was trying to achieve. And so for you, maybe that's something you can really sit down and do and to be honest with yourself. What is working? What isn't? And what I figured out when I did this was that I needed to figure out how to increase and to improve support in my own life. And me not achieving my goals, some of it is that my body is changing, that I am in menopause, that I'm going to have some expectations or my set point might be different or my level of adaptability might change. But there's also this component that I can control because some of that other stuff I can't. I can't control when my body's in menopause. But what I can control is to give myself the space and the support that I need to in order to achieve the goals that I desire. And so I challenge you to get to this place that you can start to really figure out what is working, what didn't work this past year, and what is the underlying goal that you need to find. So for me, I need to find and incorporate some support in my life. What does that look like for you? Because no matter the path you choose, maintaining some kind of mindset is going to be important for resilience and to keep you focused and motivated in terms of moving forward. And so the first thing I would say again would be to write down your plan and adapt it. Do you want to keep doing what you're doing? Do you want to make some small pivots? Is there something that you want to give up? Explore that, be honest with yourself, and start to come up with some solutions that could work for you. Next, I would say to continue to celebrate the small wins. Acknowledge and appreciate some of the small victories along the way, because doing that is going to help you stay motivated and it's going to help you during times when you feel like you can't do any of that. Celebrating those small wins are going to be really helpful in terms of allowing you to see if you need to stay the course or if you need to finish or pivot and do something differently. Practicing patience, reminding yourself that any lasting change is going to take some time and that you're focusing really on the journey and not the destination. And that the work that you're doing today can be the foundation for future success, but trusting in that process and staying flexible because life is unpredictable and your journey is going to require you to have some kind of adjustment in order to get to what you're trying to do. and that there is going to be a willingness here to do something different and to adapt your approach when you're being flexible. And flexibility is a sign of strength, not of weakness. And that's a really big one to get your head around. And then lastly, minding your self-talk, paying attention to how you talk. What's contributing to the negative talk, the self-criticism? What is making it better? For me, family is a big stressor. And so my negative self-talk tends to be a little bit worse when I'm with my family. And so it's this idea that you can start to replace your negative self-talk and your self-defeating thoughts with positive affirmations and reminding yourself of what you've been through before and really focusing on your strengths and your capabilities and the progress that you've made so far. So whatever path you choose to do today, whether you decide to pivot or persist or let go, remember that this journey is uniquely yours. There's no right timeline to get the outline and the perfect outcome that you desire. But what matters most is that you're being true to yourself, that you are learning and growing along the way. It's okay to feel frustrated when things are taking longer than expected and your results aren't matching up to all that you're doing. But know that these feelings are also part of the process. But we just don't let them define us, and we don't let them define our identity. We just know that that is what it is. So when you find yourself at a crossroads, take a moment to breathe and reflect and trust in your ability to make the best decision for yourself. Remember that every great success story is built on a foundation of perseverance and adaptability and the courage to make bold choices. Your journey with its challenges, your challenges and strengths will all lead you exactly where you need to be led to. But for some people, it might take a little bit of time than you had anticipated. So I hope this helps you, and I hope that it allows you to be more flexible, to be adaptable, and to reevaluate what your journey is. And again, to have some kind of honesty and transparency is really what's going to help you. I know that I a lot of times will be like, I'm doing everything right. I can't figure this out. But then if I really start to break it apart a little bit more, I can see some of the honesty and where the truth really lies. And so I encourage you to really start to think about those things, because once you learn to trust in your ability to make the best decisions for yourself, you're going to be in a place that you're going to have a great success story. And that success is going to be built on this foundation of perseverance, adaptability, and courage to know that you've taken bold steps and that you've taken steps that are really hard. And that ultimately is going to lead you exactly where you needed to be led. So I thank you guys again for listening, and I will see you guys back here next week.